Okay.
You're fired.
You're making me look bad.
Okay, we're going to start with Tulsi, which is also known as holy basil. Again, like lemon balm, which we're also going to talk about again in a minute. This one is just an amazing overall herb. In fact, it's indigenous to India, and it's considered holy there, which is where it gets its name, holy basil. It's sacred to the Hindus, and they refer to it as queen of the herbs. This one is just now starting to flower, but when it does, it has beautiful purple flowers on it. It is not the same thing. It's in the same family, but obviously is not the same thing as your culinary basil. This one is a big stress reliever. It's very grounding. If you've ever heard of anything referred to as grounding, it just literally means what it sounds like. It's just calming, brings you back to center, grounds you, relieves stress. It lowers fever. It's known for lowering fever. It's an immunity booster, and also it's anti-inflammatory. It's a wonderful herb to take if you are healing in any kind of way, healing from any type of surgery or any kind of wound or anything like that. This will speed your recovery time for sure. One thing I did mention in the last class that I do want to mention is although herbs tend to be far more gentle than pharmaceuticals, there is a danger of negative drug interactions. So if I tell you something like, oh, this herb is great for depression, if you are already on an antidepressant, that is something that you will definitely want to speak to your doctor about before you start to take it, because even though they're plants and most of them are gentle, that it's potent medicine. I mean, this is medicine, the same as any pill that we pop or anything else. And drug interactions, just like any other drug interaction, herbs have got to be considered where that is concerned. So definitely take that into consideration. That's something that you can talk to your doctor about, obviously. There are also some good websites, I don't have those with me today, unfortunately, where you can look up drug interactions of herbs and things like that. But I'm sure a quick Google search will take you right to it. So when I tell you take Tulsi to help heal wounds and things like that, a lot of that's going to depend on what else you're also taking. But it is anti-inflammatory and will speed healing. All of these herbs, we talked about tea garden herbs in the last one, so obviously we were thinking of making tea with those herbs, but there are multiple different ways that you can use these herbs. This is just a very brief introduction to some of these herbs, so we can't take a deep dive into that. That would be more of like a 102 kind of thing, but any of these herbs can be used as tea, not just the ones we talked about before. Those just tend to be a little tasty, a little tastier, whereas these might be a little more bitter, but they're going to get the job done. It might seem a little more like taking medicine than enjoying a cup of tea, but you can make tea with these things. Some of them can even, the leaves and stuff can be cooked, put in salads and things like that. Again, those deep dives are for a different day or for research that you can do yourself at home. And then, of course, there's always, you can always make a tincture, which is one of the most potent ways to get your herbs into your body. And again, like maybe if you follow me on my Instagram and Facebook and things like that, I might get into some of those types of things or teach those classes elsewhere, but we just don't have time for that today. When you grow Tulsi or holy basil, full sun is best. Again, like everything else, it loves the sun. That good morning and midday sun. It likes good drainage. Like everything else, it likes to be damp but not soggy. It will also grow really well indoors. The best thing you can do if you're going to grow an herb indoors is find a south-facing window, because those windows tend to get that full scope of sun all day. So a south-facing window in a pot will work just fine to grow Tulsi. And the parts of this plant that we tend to use for medicine are the leaves themselves. All right. The next one I want to talk about, I'm going to be very careful because this is my stinging nettle. You've probably heard of that nettle, stinging nettle. You don't want to touch it. It will irritate your skin if you do. This grows like crazy. So this is going to do best in a pot just to keep it from spreading so much. Tulsi tends to be a little taller, and it will spread, but not as quickly, not as much. This stinging nettle, like peppermint, is going to spread like wildfire. It's a natural antihistamine, so the same thing that's going to irritate your hand if you touch this is the compound that irritates your skin when you touch it is the compound that makes it a great antihistamine. It blocks those histamine receptors. So the second that you take it in there, it's going to do that. We use this a lot because we've got allergies at my house. So a tincture of stinging nettle, just stinging nettle itself, and again, like I could talk all day about this stuff. It would be a key herb in an antihistamine tincture, but there are also others that you could add to it. But just a tincture of stinging nettle, a tea of stinging nettle is going to do the job. I have found that it works better for some and not others, which makes sense. We're not all exactly the same. Our chemical makeups are all different. So my husband, when he has an allergic reaction, stinging nettle tends to work really well for him. My daughter, when she has an allergic reaction, it really kind of barely touches it. They also tend to be allergic to different things, so the allergies that she has, which are typically dust and dogs and things like that, it doesn't seem to work quite as well on as it does like a hay fever or a plant, like a typical outdoor pollen kind of allergy. It'll knock that out quickly though. Also, one thing about all of these herbs that's really interesting, and again we don't have time to get into, they all tend to be chock full of vitamins and minerals. Trace minerals, the macro minerals and things like that, they tend to be full of those. We'll talk more about that in the culinary herb. I'll get into some of that with that. But the stinging nettle has also been known to lower blood pressure. It does stimulate hair growth. You'll find it in a lot of like herbal products that people use when they want to grow their hair. And it is a blood purifier. So it does really well, to cleanse some of your organs and things like that help with purifying your blood, like your liver and things like that. So it enjoys full to partial sun. Of course, I don't think I have to say it's pest resistant, naturally pest resistant. Nobody wants to touch it. Does best in a container because it will spread. Average water, it tends to be pretty drought tolerant, which again, like I've already talked to a couple of you about it, and you say you got it in your yard and it goes crazy. Another thing you can do if you do tend to just have it growing naturally in your yard and it is going crazy because it tends to grow more than you could ever use if it's outside of a container, it does really well in your garden compost. So you can just literally cut it back and toss it into your compost bin. It's chock full of nitrogen. So a lot of people will use the excess that they cut down for that. Chickens love it. It's great for them. And you can use it. You can throw it in once you have cooked it. Thank you. Just give it a little bit of water, it'll be heavier. Once you've cooked it or dried it, those irritating parts of it go away. You can toss it, but you definitely don't want to just cut a fresh leaf and throw it into your salad. You don't want to do that. But if you can saute it down like spinach or any other green, or put it in a soup, or you can dry it and use it that way. It's a great one to have around, though, especially, like I said, for those that histamine blocker, if nothing else. And the next thing that I want to talk about, the next herb that I also do not have with me because mine is growing in the ground, is calendula. Calendula is, I would say, if you wanted to say, okay, I want to do 3 things to start a medicinal herb, like first aid kit, I would immediately get and grow calendula. Calendula is one of the best things that you can use on your skin. It has a lot of topical uses. It also has some oral uses, but it will treat pretty much any skin ailment that you have, from rashes to stings to burns, wounds, eczema, acne, cold sores. I mean, if it's something on your skin that's bothering you, calendula is pretty much a miraculous remedy for those things.
Spell that?
Calendula, calendula, and it is a beautiful flower. It will self-propagate. It is a perennial, so it'll come back year after year. and you're going to use the flower itself, and you're going to pinch that flower off, and don't remove. Some people will remove the petals, but the truth is that, and I can't think of what the name of that would be right now, but this part underneath the flower, this green part here, holds some of the most medicinal compounds in that part right there. So you're literally going to pull that flower head and dry it. One of my favorite things to do is to just drown that thing in oil and let it sit for 4 to 6 weeks in that oil. I use jojoba oil typically. That's because a friend of mine who is an esthetician once told me that jojoba oil is what's best for your skin. It perfectly matches like a healthy skin pH. So I've just always used jojoba oil because of that. So I'll put those calendula flower heads in a jar and cover them with oil and let them sit for 4 to 6 weeks. Or if you're feeling like you're in a hurry, you can slightly warm that up. You don't want it to get too hot, but I will set it down like in my crock pot on a low setting in water, the whole jar with the calendula and the oil and all that in it. I'll set it down in the crock pot, lid off, with water on low, and let it sit overnight, and that oil will infuse quickly. And it might not be quite as potent as it's sitting there for 4 to 6 weeks in a sunny window, but it'll get the job done. And a lot of times, especially with these skin issues and stuff, we need something right away. So that will also work. I really cannot stress enough, sorry about that, just what a great herb, an all-around healing herb calendula is. It promotes cell repair and growth. So that's what's happening when you're applying it to your skin issues. It's also what's happening if you're taking it internally. And again, it's a good oral med that you can use in a tincture or a tea or anything else like that. You can dry it the same way we talked about with the tea. If you have a dehydrator, that's great. If you don't, you can hang them to dry. You can also do a quick dry in your oven at a very low temperature. And by low, I mean like the lowest your oven will go around. I wouldn't do anything over 100 for like an hour, and that should dry it right out. I do remember reading somewhere about calendula that it is almost, unlike a lot of other things, it's almost more potent when it's dry. Something about locking in those volatile oils and stuff when it's dry. It's very low maintenance. It's going to come back year after year. It's probably going to keep growing even into the colder months. It loves well-draining soil and full sun. It's very drought tolerant. So really the only mistake you could make with calendula would be overwatering it. Other than that, it's going to do really well. We're going to use the flower. We can use it to make tea. We can use it to make oil like I talked about. And then from that oil, once you've got that oil made, from there you can go on to make salves, add other things to it to make all kinds of stuff. When it comes to any of my salves and oils, like massage oils, anything we're going to put on our body, all of mine start with a calendula infused jojoba oil base, because that alone will do so much. Anything you add to it is just going to make it even better. And then quickly, once again, I have to mention lemon balm. When we talk about medicinal herbs, because like we talked about earlier, it's just such a good all-around, it's going to do multiple things. When you think of lemon balm, just think soothing, because that pretty much covers it with lemon balm, and it calms everything. It'll calm an upset stomach, it'll calm anxiety, it'll calm your mind. It reduces stress and anxiety. It's an antidepressant. It's full of antioxidants. And remember, we talked about that earlier. Anytime you hear antioxidant, you might as well say anti-aging, because it's blocking all those free radicals. It's letting those cells regenerate without being bothered by, again, the free radicals and things like that. Lemon balm grows very easily. Sorry if you were at the tea one, you're just going to have to hear this again. It's that good, though. It's in the mint family. It's delicious. I will a lot of times, I make and sell a 4-mint tea that includes peppermint, which is great for digestion, the lemon balm, which is just overall soothing, spearmint, which tends to have more of the pain-relieving compounds in it than the other mints, and catnip, which a lot of people don't know is used for much of anything else other than making your cats really happy. I have several cats, and I've had to replant catnip multiple times already this season until I finally had to get the little cover for it, because they just would not leave it alone. But it's in the mint family, and it's great for us. It actually does the opposite for us that it does for the cats. The cats love it. They tend to go a little crazy. For us, it's like lemon balm. It's very soothing. To go back to calendula quickly, most of the stuff that we talked about today is great for kids, but when it comes to calendula is so soothing. It can be used on infants. It's safe for any age, any skin type. It's just really great for all of that stuff. But lemon balm is going to do really well in a container because like peppermint, it's going to spread like wildfire, like stinging nettle, spread like wildfire. I love to grow mint in containers because not only does it keep it where it needs to be and not all over my garden, but it just is really lovely. I like to put them up sometimes, kind of stack them because they'll spill over. It's just really beautiful. They're beautiful plants. It's fun to just walk by and pluck a leaf and pop it in your mouth for fresh breath and a little pick-me-up. But lemon balm is calming. It reduces stress and anxiety. It's an antidepressant. It's an antioxidant. All of these would make a really great addition to your herb gardens. Does anybody have any questions about any of the medicinal herbs? Yeah, in the back. Sorry, I can't hear. Let me come around if I can. Okay, what now? The jojoba oil, I heard that part. I'm sorry.
Can the jojoba with the calendula infused be consumed?
No, I probably wouldn't do that. If I wanted to take calendula internally, I would do one of two things. I would make a tea with it, which might not taste great, but throw some peppermint in there, Or I would make a tincture with it, which is going to take a little longer before you can use it, because like the oil, you're going to infuse it in whatever menstruum or medium that you choose. Those options are usually an alcohol base or a glycerin base or a witch hazel base. If I was going to consume it, I would choose either alcohol or glycerin. I personally prefer alcohol. I use an organic sugarcane alcohol just because it is far more potent than than glycerin. Some people who just don't want to consume alcohol at all, which I've read that a drop or from a tincture has about the same amount of alcohol as like a piece of fruit. There's barely any in there. But if you're a child or if you're sober or something like that, then glycerin also makes a great base. I might let it sit just a little bit longer because it's thicker, so it's going to draw more. But if I wanted to take calendula internally, it would definitely either be a tea or a tincture. I don't think I would want to consume the oil. I don't know that it would hurt you, but it would probably be unpleasant going in and coming out, honestly. So just to be honest. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
I know, like with basil, you don't want to let it go to flower.
Yes.
And how about with calendula?
With calendula, we're actually going to use the flower itself.
Oh, yeah,
so
that's
what and like most flowers, again, when you pluck that flower head, it's going to tell that plant to make more flowers. So it's hard to do. It's one of the hardest things to do is to go out there and pick those beautiful flowers when they look so pretty out there in your yard, but it's going to make more for sure. Yes, ma'am. Well, I've got a little resource paper up here that y'all can come up and see and take a picture of. It does really well from seed. I like high mowing seeds. I like, if you want to get a plant, I always prefer to start with a seedling anytime I can with a plant because it's instant gratification. I like native nurseries in Tallahassee. Tallahassee nurseries, they tend to carry it. I was there the other day to get some for y'all and they didn't have it because they said that it's really kind of past season. It's not, but you can go ahead and get some seeds. If you want a plant, my favorite place online to buy live plants is organicharvest.com. You're going to pay a little bit more. For a pot that size at the nursery is probably $4.99, $5.99 depending. On organicharvest.com, it's going to be more like $6.99 or $7.99. So you pay a little bit more and a little bit of shipping. But if, like me, you step back and you see some holes in your garden and you don't have another day to run up to Tallahassee or something like that, I'll just get online and order that. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am. Jojoba, Jojoba, jojoba oil. And again, I got that from an esthetician, and I took her word for it. She knew what she was talking about, so I went with that. I also will sometimes use the fractionated coconut oil, or there's all kinds that you can use. There's really no wrong answer to that. But if it's a skin thing, in my opinion, jojoba is always going to be best.
Where do you buy
The jojoba oil, yeah, you can get. I just look for an organic cold pressed. They will carry it sometimes in the health food store. I do that if I'm desperate and need it like that day because it's going to be marked way up at a place like that for sure. Anybody else?
Would olive oil be really good as well?
Yeah, yes, olive oil.
I know that's good.
Absolutely. That's the thing. Any oil, it really is almost a preference. I would say olive oil is one of like the thicker ones. So if you're really looking for a nice like thick moisturizer, olive oil is nice and thick. Jojoba's kind of medium, whereas like the fractionated coconut oil is very, very light. So if you don't like greasy skin and you want it gone pretty much right away, then maybe go for like the coconut oil. And then the mediums are like the jojoba or the sweet almond, and then you get up there into the olive oil and the vitamin E oil, and those are like kind of the thicker ones. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
So I use castor oil all the time.
Yes, that too. That would just, again, that is literally just a preference. Some people just don't like that feeling on their skin, so they're going to go for a lighter one, and castor is going to be a heavier one. But anytime you can use castor oil, it's great for you. And that one can be taken internally cautiously, very cautiously. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am. Yes, these will do fine indoors. Again, I would find, I'm not sure about the calendula. The calendula really loves the heat. It's worth a try because you can always move it outside if it's in a pot. But again, I would recommend a south-facing window just so it's getting that light all day long, because really it's light more than heat for this stuff that they like. So if you find a nice sunny south-facing window, and the reason I say south is that tends to be the sunniest spot in the house.
We have a skylight and it gets
Yeah.
hot in that room, and so I thought putting
It would probably love it.
But we also live in a mosquito spray zone, and so
Yes, I would think that all of these would do just fine in a room like that. It basically sounds like a greenhouse to me, so yeah. One thing I do like to do, any of the plants that I use inside, whether it's a house plant or an herb, I do like to mist them every once in a while, because one thing they are missing inside, they don't mind missing the heat so much. They want the sun, but they like that humidity too. So sometimes just go through with a fine mister and just give them a little mist on their leaves and things like that. They like that. Anybody else? Yes. Yes. Yes, that's right. Yes. Yes, she's saying that she's used calendula on her pets, and just like I said, pets, infants, the calendula is so gentle it can be used on pretty much anyone. And again, like I said, all of these things are plants and flowers. They're also potent medicine, so double check if you're dealing with anything else or in any other type of medication. These aren't just plants, they're medicine, potent medicine. So we want to make sure we're not hurting ourselves instead of helping ourselves with these interactions. Anyone else? All right, I'm going to come back in a little while and we're going to talk about some culinary herbs, and I might dive a little more into like vitamins and minerals and things like that in the ones. In the meantime, if you want to come up, I've got some little bit of info about these 4 herbs and some good resources up here. Bring your phone so you can snap a picture.